Good morning, guys. How are you? Today, I'm going to share with you my own job search experience from the time I was in South Africa about 2 decades ago. I started looking for a job when I was a senior in high school, but I couldn't find a job because it takes a long time to receive the certificate from graduating high school in South Africa. I applied for entry at the University of Port Elizabeth and I was accepted for my major of interest, but I could not pursue my major because I did not have the funds to pay for that university. And then the student loan office declined my application because my parents did not have any fixed assets. So what did I do? I went to another college in Port Elizabeth, applied there, and I was accepted. That college was not as expensive as the University of Port Elizabeth. But what the difference was that I wasn't going to do what I wanted to do, but I was still going to college. So I started there and I was in my second year when everything was starting to go bad in South Africa. I realized that the unemployment rate was so high, especially in that field I was training for, and the crime was an issue. I mean, I could hear gunshots early around 7 p.m. in the township, and then violence towards women and children, and then HIV was an issue. And being someone who comes from a family with a heavy financial hardship, I did not want to be a victim of either one of those. And lastly, I did not think I wanted to tie myself with any man in South Africa I would not be proud of. I did not want to have any children with someone I had to take to court. Definitely did not want to be that person who is going to get disease from men because some men still go from here to there and passing on. And, there are those men who are very nice, who can do this and that, but they are not thinking about their future. I did not want a man I have to raise. That's another issue. So I decided to leave the country. I actually started looking for employment in Sweden because there were jobs that were posted in one of the most famous paper in Port Elizabeth. But a classmate of mine told me that I will be made as a prostitute. And I was scared. So that discouraged me from leaving South Africa. And I ended up completing college. But before completion, I started looking for jobs in my field. I applied for employment opportunities in Cape Town, in Port Elizabeth, Gauteng province, Eastern Cape, you name it, but no luck, not even response from other jobs. I went back to live with my parents and I started looking for employment in East London. And I wasn't even selective. I was looking for any opportunity I could find. At the time, I had to ride a train Monday to Friday to East London, going door to door, trying to talk to anyone who is responsible for hiring. And I didn't get any offer. Then the Daimler Chrysler in East London posted job opportunities and they wanted just the high school diploma and no criminal background, simple things like that. I applied for that. I took the test, I passed the test, and I trained with them for 8 weeks long, paid training. While I was training, on our last week in that training, they called all the groups that were training to tell us that they did not have any job opportunities open at that time. And if they do, they will call us back. And I panicked. I went back to job search. And throughout the time, I was walking in and out towns in East London, near East London, I came across companies that were from United Kingdom that were recruiting in South Africa. In fact, they were recruiting for what I have trained for. I went to those seminars. Every one of them, I had extra, transcripts, copies of my transcripts, my ID, everything in place. I have gone and applied, and this lady said, these are all the qualifications we're looking for, and we need to see your bank statement, and it has to show 15 to 20,000 rands. I went to a family member and borrow 20,000 rands. My family member told me to wait for Daimler Chrysler to hire me. I went to a cousin who was working. I mean, distant cousin, not direct from my aunt or my father's side, but my cousin. And he showed me he was paying 5,000 rand a month to a University of Cambridge for his master's degree, and he wasn't able to help me. So I moved on, started looking again. It was getting tougher and tougher as the time went by without any income, any job offer, nothing part time. I have gone and asked my parents if I could go back to school, and my mom said they couldn't afford to send me back to school anymore. They needed to see who else they can help my siblings, especially my brother, you know, and I understood that. But my mom offered to buy a daily pass for me just for the Mondays because on Mondays the newspapers that I couldn't afford were in the library, in East London Library. So I would go to the East London Library on a Monday morning and stay there the whole day, going through every classified section of the newspaper, looking for employment. And I would write down everything, go back to my parents, ask them for a Telcom telephone card. And my parents did that too. And I will call and follow up, find out the requirements. If I met them, I'll try and apply. And then came across the OPE in America. I called them up as well, and they told me I needed, high school diploma, childcare experience, must be age 18 to 26. I needed a driver's license. I discussed that with my parents, and then we started the driving license process. I passed the exam. I started the lessons, but I couldn't finish. There was no money to go forward with that. Then I wasn't able to complete that, and I wasn't able to come to the US with OPE in America. And after that, I have found another post about childcare. This was in a Sunday Times, the one from South Africa. That paper was 5 rands in 2000. 5 rands, and I didn't have 5 rands in my pocket, you know. And this is me here today, and I called the number about that childcare job because, the benefits looked right, the income looked right, and this lady happened to be in Southernwood, and she gave me an address. So my friend and I walked to her house from the main center in the library, walking all the way to Southernwood. As women, it's too dangerous because we had to take shortcuts, and somehow not every street can be seen by people in Southernwood, going to Southernwood. It's dangerous there. But we went and we made it safe there. We talked to this lady. She told us what we needed to have, and we had all other requirements like real, but we needed to have 13,000 rands. And this time I went to my parents and I told them I've been looking again, and it doesn't look like I'm going to find anything in South Africa right now, and time is going by. And I was under a lot of pressure. I really could not investigate anything. I believed any job, anything. So my parents went to borrow money from Absa Bank, and we paid the fees. When we paid the fees, the lady bought my a ticket for Intercape bus, and I went to England. I'm sorry, I before I went to England, that Intercape bus took me to Cape Town. From Cape Town, I was there for a few days, getting myself ready, got the ticket to go to United Kingdom. So I went to United Kingdom for this family. I had the contacts, I had everything. I was carrying a camera. I was given this camera by this person who is in Cape Town, who this lady that is in East London said he was the head office manager, okay, in Cape Town. Never questioned anything, but this story is for another day because it's a very detailed story and it is the truth. It is the truth. I'm not saying the nationality for a reason because some of you don't understand what are some of us had the experience some of us had with some of the Africans that are in South Africa. So I'm not going to go there because I have a direct experience a negative experience with some of those Africans we have in South Africa. So, regardless, I left South Africa, went to the United Kingdom. When I arrived, they set me aside, went through my bags, interviewed me, wanted to know where I was going. I handed them the information. They called. The lady confirmed she's expecting me. And she told them what time she's coming to the airport. And short story, long, long story short, whatever you want to name it, I'm not thinking in English. I was not instructed in English. I think in Xhosa and I translate is I think. It's hard. It's work, okay? But this is me today. I have no apologies for how I speak English. So, after she called me, things went the way they went and I was deported to South Africa. I was deported to South Africa and I went back to Cape Town. When I went back to Cape Town, I returned with that passport. That temporary passport had a stamp. That stamp showed not good for passage, not to enter until 10 years. That was the stamp on that South African passport. Then I also waited for the permanent passport because at the time I could apply for both. And I did. Thank God I did. Because when that permanent passport came, everything of mine was with that man who is called the head office of that agency in Cape Town. My college transcripts, my ID, everything that would help me find a job, escape, leave the country, you name it. So he made sure I leave South Africa. He made sure I leave South Africa. He found me a family in New Jersey. And this family was in Roseland. And he made me talk to them. They interviewed me and they liked me and they wanted me to come. And I came. But I came on a 3 weeks visa. Okay? 3 weeks visa is what the US consulate gave me. And I made it on March 17. I arrived in JFK. The family was there to pick me up, took me to their house in Roseland, New Jersey, to babysit their two kids who were 5 and 7 at the time. And I worked with that family. The contract was 12 months. The family extended my visa. The family went to a lawyer to find out what they needed to do to sponsor me. At that time, I was in and out of it because they wanted me to pay the cost 50% of the cost for the immigration fees and the lawyer fees, and they will pay 50%. They will send me to college. They would do this, they would do that. But throughout that time, after they extended my visa, came September 11 issues. That after that, I was stressed enough. I was stressed by the family. I was stressed by the laws that changed and everything else that was going on. I started having a headache, and that headache stayed with me for 2 weeks. After that, I could not see. I lost my vision, and then I went double. I had double vision. I was hospitalized for 2 weeks at UMDNJ. And during that time, the lady went to the hospital every day and she told the people in the hospital that I was living with her. She was providing shelter for me. She didn't have any financial responsibilities for me. And charities in New Jersey paid for my hospital stays. I had every exam you can think of: blood work, scan, head scan, ultrasound, you name it. All the expensive exams were done to look for tumor, and I didn't have any. And then after a month, the problem resolved on its own. But this is the hospitalization that helped me because while I was there, a South African registered nurse who worked for that hospital found me, and that would be my way out of that hardship because the family was very difficult. I worked 7 days a week, every holiday, and when their friends were in their house for a visit, I would be babysitting everyone's children. When there was a party, I'll be first in the kitchen, last in the kitchen. And then when the kids were up, no matter what time I went to bed, I had to take care of the kids, even if the parents are home. And what was hard for me was that I didn't have anyone in the country. So I had no place to go. I was stuck with them. I couldn't even say I'm walking to the library. Everything I had to go to required transportation. There was no bus stop nearby. I had no knowledge on how to find a taxi cab. So I had so much going on. But this is what happened. When I came in, the first 6 months, the first 3 months of my payment, I was paid $600 monthly. The first 3 months of pay went back to that man in Cape Town. Then 6 months after that, I saved every dollar I earned. Every dollar I earned, straight 6 months, I sent it to my mom because I had things I had planned to do and I needed to do them on time so that if I were to return to South Africa, I wouldn't have to worry about those things. And this is why many of you learned or found out that I was not in South Africa because you could see my work in progress while I was here. This is why when you have goals, you will never ever find everything supporting you. Pursue your goals with or without support. You know, do what I did if you have to. It's not easy, okay? But I'm here to encourage you. So I did that, yes, and that lady gave us her phone number. So this lady said, I'm going to keep the phone number you gave me so she can call you. When I returned from the hospital, this lady said she lost the contacts. She lost the phone number. So I looked in the book. The telephone book was still in print. The Verizon book, best book. I looked for that lady's last name. I found her number. Then I called her. And then she was able to give me her number to save and her cell phone number. And then at that time I already found out how to buy a calling card. And my mistake was to buy a calling card, wake up at 1 a.m. to make calls to South Africa. And this lady got very, very anxious. And she just started putting the camera in the house to find out what I was saying because she couldn't understand. So she was constantly on translating apps to learn about what I'm saying because she had a negative, experience in the past. She brought two South Africans to help her with the kids. I was the third one, and I was the best one. And throughout that time, she was very mean spirited. But I knew where I come from, I knew why I left the country, and I didn't want to go back to that. So I stayed and I tried to serve her, and she was happy with my service because throughout that time, she knew I was going to leave eventually because I found South Africans and I gave her a 2 months notice so she can find correct placement for me. And she found somebody after I left. She didn't find anyone before. She begged me, she offered a raise, she offered things I wouldn't think she would offer. So when I left to live with Boot Clement and Sistandi. That was my first home, my first African family to learn to get to know in America. And throughout, that time, Sistandi, has a big network in this US. I didn't even stay there for a week. I was working. Within a week of being there, I was working here in Pennsylvania. And this is how I came to work. I came to Pennsylvania to work for a station manager. You won't believe it. I worked for a station manager here in Pennsylvania. I'm not going to say any name. That was a connection through Sistand. Okay? So, why we leave our families? It's not because we don't love them. We love them so much, but we have things to do. We have priorities and we have to take on roles. And when we take the steering wheel, we make decisions. When people are funding us, we can't always argue with them. We can't always disagree with them. And those are reasons I left South Africa. I did not want to depend on a man because I had a great father. I did not want to depend on a man. My father did his best with very little income. And I am the one that he sent to college. I am the one he sent to college for full college years. Okay? It wasn't easy. They struggled throughout the time they had to pay for my tuition. I was not even living in a dorm. I had to pay rent, I had to eat, transportation, you name it. It wasn't easy. And I'm telling you right now, if you have access to the internet, look for employment, use it to your benefit. If you have the phone and you have your resume saved, save it on a Google account, because if it's on a Google account, once you have that, you can apply using your phone, and all you have to do is upload it through that Google account. It's not the most convenient activity to do, but it's something anyone can do. Today we have people that are in school because of NSFAS. That was not available in my time. That was not available in my time. I wanted to do more for me. I still want to do more for me. Even today, I try my best. It's not easy because I have two children. I am responsible for them. And I am still paying my own tuition here in the US. If I tell you the long list of all my expenses, you won't believe. I don't even know how I pay them myself. But I am paying everything myself. And then I am responsible in South Africa because I will not let my family suffer. I will not let them wear Nike. I will not send Nike over there. I will not buy Louis Vuitton, Gucci bags, perfume, you name it. I used to buy clothes. I used to buy shoes. But they know. They don't ask me for iPhone, iPads, little things they need to put in their ears, or hair products. They don't ask me that. But when it comes to college tuition or school fees, I am going to make it possible because that's my bloodline. I want to pull them forward with me. And you can do the same. Have a good day.